Hello everyone and welcome to Drunk Billy Flight 01. Today we're going to be doing something a little different. Rather than the sightseeing tour, we're going to actually be doing an an RNAV approach. We're going to be landing at CYGK, that's Norman Rogers Airport in Kingston, Ontario, my hometown airport. And we're going to be landing on RNAV 25. I already got a flight plan programmed into my autopilot and my Garmin's, but this is actually quite easy. Let me first bring up the Navigraph plate here. As you can see in Navigraph, we're currently up here and we're coming into the entry point, which is Memvo. And we're coming in at 1,800 feet, which we're currently at. And we're going to travel down to Putted. At Putted, we're going to reduce our altitude down to 1,700 because that's the altitude requested here. We're going to lower down to 1,700 feet, and here we're going to activate our approach mode on our autopilot, and we should intercept at Ubtis. We should intercept the signal and pick up our glide slope that will take us all the way down to the runway. So back in here, it's actually quite simple. Once you have your flight plan all laid out, you can go to procedures and your autopilot. You can also do it from this side, or from your Garmin rather. You can do it from this side, but the screen isn't quite as big, so I prefer using the MFD rather than the PFD for this. So you would go to approach, you'd have your airport selected already. You would go down using this knob. You would go and select your RNAV 25, Memvo transition. Then you would scroll all the way down here and to activate and hit enter. I've already done it, so I'm not going to do it again here, especially due to the bug in the system that will lay a waypoint down and make me turn around and come back to it. But you'll see it lays down all the waypoints that are part of that sequence to get down to the runway. Like literally, this should be pretty much automatic at this point. There's very, very little to do with an RNAV approach other than managing your speed and your altitude coming into it. So right now, I'm going to drop down to 1,700 feet. I'm crossing Memvo. And if this goes as planned, which hopefully it does, you never know, I should come straight down on runway 25 without issue. Although I found that RNAV glide slopes in this game tend to be very, very shallow, and they will tend to drop you down. Oh, that was a strange little bump I got there. The RNAV approaches will tend to drop you like right at the very, very end of the runway, even before the threshold. So I don't think they're quite perfect, as good as they should be. But they do work. Now, if you'll notice, you see your glide slope indicator is in magenta here. Whereas if you were doing an ILS approach, this would be in green instead. Now, I'm not sure exactly what is wrong in the game, because often when you're coming into the path of your glide slope, rather than being above, it will be below. And I think this might be a bug in the game because, to the best of my knowledge, an RNAV glide slope indicator should also come into the top and lower as you capture it. But for some reason, it does not do it in Microsoft Flight Simulator. I'm wondering if it's somebody that put a negative or a positive in front of a variable somewhere where in the Garmin implementation, but it's most definitely a bug that should not be there. But in any case, it still works even though that it does it incorrectly. So we'll take it for what it is. As long as you follow what the plate says, you should be able to capture RNAV with very, very minimal effort. And there's really nothing to do. There's no radio frequency that you have to put in, like you have to do with a with an ILS landing. You basically just go. Now, it's not considered a precision approach like ILS is. So you do have to babysit it a little bit more than you would ILS. But overall, it works quite well. So we're almost at putted now. So I am going to throttle back a little bit. And once we make our turn and get in line, I'm going to punch my approach. Although I won't do it on screen, I'm going to do it off screen with my my Logitech multi-panel. So half a mile away, we should start turning very, very shortly. I'm going to keep my speed around 90, 95 knots or so. There we go. And I'm going to hit my approach button. As you can see, just as if we're doing ILS, the glide slope shows up in white and will remain in white until we capture the glide slope. So according to the chart, the next waypoint Ubtis in just under 5 miles, we should capture that glide slope. So I'm getting ready here. There, I'm gonna punch up the throttle a little bit to get us there a tiny bit quicker. No sense in extending this longer than it needs to be. And we're coming in. Yeah, RNAV is usually pretty simple. As long as you follow the approach plates, you should really have no issues pulling this one off. The key is following the instructions on the approach plates and maintaining those altitudes. And here we have Highway 401, the longest highway in Ontario. And up here we have actually my neighborhood. I can technically see my house from here. I'm not going to point it out, but it's my hood. Yeah, we just had the 1.9.5 patch drop yesterday, which was kind of nice. It kind of fixed a lot of buildings that were way, way, way too tall in parts of town that should not have had like 10 plus story buildings. So far, this patch has been a pretty bug-free experience for me, and it's fixed all the issues that I had been experiencing with the previous patch. 1.9.3, it was just a horrible experience for me. Lots of bugs, lots of crashes to desktop. The cockpit poltergeist, all kinds of other wonderful things. Right here. Set some lights on. And we oh, now if you notice, this glide slope indicator all of a sudden jumped up for like no apparent reason, and boom, we've captured a glide path or glide slope, however you want to call it. It's kind of wonky, and I don't think it's very conducive to learning how it works properly. And even myself, I'm kind of learning this stuff as I go. I'm not a pilot. So, okay, put in the first stage of flaps. Maintain a bit of speed. I want to come down at... With this bugger, my speed is 68 for my glide slope speed. But we're still a little ways out. I'm going to keep my speed up a little bit more. I'm going to make sure I'm 68 as I'm going in for a short final. It's really quite a nice view. Okay, and here we go. Gonna increase speed a little bit. Put second stage of flaps in. So I guess I did have all my speed bugs activated. That's one of the nice things about this G1000 mod I'm using. It actually saves your functions, like enabling your DME, NAV1, NAV2, and such like that. Normally you have to go in and manually enter them every time you start up your plane. This one actually saves your settings and loads them up next time, which is beautiful. Okay. Getting pretty close now. And the nice thing is on the Coronado Cessna 182, where we don't have synthetic vision, this mod will actually also add synthetic vision to it. There we go. Last stage of flaps. Oh, I didn't actually put in my minimums like I was going to, but oh well. I've got it set to beautiful clear weather so we can see what's going on. So you see what I mean? We're very, very shallow. The lights are telling us like we're way, way, way too low. So here I'm going to take off the autopilot and bring it in manually from this point forward, or else it'll actually touch me down right at the end of the runway before actually reaching the runway. And a beautiful landing. Couldn't have asked for better. So there you go, folks. That's what an RNAV approach looks like. This is about as simple as it gets. No tuning radio frequencies, no changing the CDI to anything. You just keep it on your GPS and you let it do its thing. You just have to be mindful about coming into the approach at the right altitudes in order to capture your glide slope correctly. Follow the instructions on the plates, and you're golden. There's really not much to it. It's even simpler than ILS, although not as precise as ILS. So you have to keep that in mind. ILS is a precision approach. RNAV is not considered to be precision approach. So I will go park here and parking brake, lean to turn off, turn off ignition, all my lights, and we're powered down. Thanks, folks. Y'all have a good one. I'll catch you next time.